The Great Snake and Crocodile Showdown. The jungle animals gathered around, eager to see who would put on the greatest show, Sammy the snake or Carl the crocodile. Sammy went first. She slithered up a tall tree, curled her body into loops, and suddenly, poof, she formed a giant star shape in the air. Then she spun herself into a twirling spiral, zooming down like a jungle roller coaster. "Ooh! Ah!" cheered the monkeys. "Sammy's tricks are amazing." Not to be outdone, Carl stomped into the river. With a mighty flick of his powerful tail, splash, he sent a wave so high that it made a rainbow when the sun hit the mist. "Whoa!" gasped the jungle animals. "Carl's waves are incredible." Just as the two were about to perform their grand finale, something unexpected happened. A mysterious shadow passed over the jungle. The animals froze. Sammy and Carl looked up. A giant bird with shimmering purple feathers was soaring above them. It was Zara the zooming Zazu, the fastest flyer in the jungle. Zara swooped down and cackled. "You two think you are the best performers? Ha! Wait till you see this." With a mighty flap of her wings, she spun in the air, did 3 backflips, and then, whoosh! She snatched Carl's golden tooth right out of his mouth. "Hey!" Carl shouted, his mouth wide open in shock. Zara zipped away, giggling. "Catch me if you can!" Sammy and Carl exchanged glances. The showdown was over. Now it was a chase. With lightning speed, Sammy twisted herself into a slingshot. "Hop in, Carl," she called. Carl jumped onto her coils, and with a mighty boing, Sammy launched him into the air, right toward Zara. Would they catch her? Would Carl get his golden tooth back? The Great Snake and Crocodile Chase. Carl the crocodile soared through the air, his eyes locked on Zara the zooming Zazu. "Give me back my golden tooth," he roared. Zara cackled. "Catch me first." She flapped her wings and zoomed through the trees, twisting and turning like a feathered rocket. Sammy, still on the ground, wasn't about to let her friend lose his favorite tooth. She stretched herself out like a jungle vine and launched into action. "Hang on, Carl. I've got a plan." As Carl tumbled through the air, Zara zipped left, then right, dodging the trees with incredible speed. But Sammy had one last trick up her scales. She looped herself into a giant spring and, boing, she bounced high, grabbing onto a tree branch. Then, with a mighty flick of her tail, she created a snapping whip that whooshed through the air. Whoosh! Snatch! Sammy's tail wrapped around Zara's leg. "Whoa!" Zara squawked as she suddenly lost balance. The golden tooth slipped from her beak and, plunk, landed right in Carl's open mouth as he fell back into the river with a huge splash. The jungle animals gasped. Then, woohoo! The whole jungle cheered. Zara shook her feathers and huffed. All right, you two are pretty good, but next time I'll win." She flapped her wings and zipped away, leaving a trail of purple feathers behind. Carl grinned, showing off his golden tooth. "Next time I'll be ready," Sammy laughed. "And next time, we'll team up from the start." From that day on, Sammy, Carl, and even Zara became the jungle's most famous entertainers, not just rivals, but friends who made the jungle wilder, funnier, and more exciting than ever. The Great Snake and Crocodile Showdown continued. One bright morning in the Jungle of Giggles, Sammy the snake and Carl the crocodile were up to their usual tricks. Sammy slithered up a tall tree, twisting her sparkly green body into loops, creating shapes that looked like stars, hearts, and even a giant smiling face. The jungle animals oohed and awed, clapping their paws and flapping their wings in delight. Carl, not to be outdone, stomped into the river and gave his mighty tail a powerful thwack. The water exploded into the air, creating a wave so high that it almost touched the tree branches. The monkeys cheered, using the wave as a slide to whoosh down into the water with happy splashes. "I can make the jungle laugh more than you," Sammy challenged, wiggling her body into the shape of a wobbly giraffe. "Oh yeah?" Carl grinned, showing off his golden tooth. "Watch this." He spun around in the water like a whirlwind, creating a whirlpool so strong that a bunch of floating leaves twirled like a leaf tornado. The parrots squawked in excitement, flying in circles to keep up with the swirling leaves. But just when their friendly competition was at its peak, something strange happened. A deep rumble shook the ground. The river rippled. The trees shivered. The jungle animals stopped laughing. "What was that?" Sammy asked, untangling herself from a loop. Carl's golden tooth stopped sparkling. His grin faded. The rumble grew louder and louder until, boom! Out of the bushes burst the biggest, grumpiest hippo anyone had ever seen. Her name was Hilda the hippo, and she did not look happy. "Why is there so much splashing and slithering?" she bellowed. "Some of us are trying to nap." Sammy and Carl froze. The jungle animals held their breath. Would this be the end of their showdown? Or could this be the beginning of their biggest challenge yet? The Great Snake and Crocodile Showdown, the Hippo Challenge. The jungle was silent. Hilda the hippo stood at the edge of the river, her massive feet stomping the ground. Her big, grumpy eyes glared at Sammy and Carl. "I was having the best nap of my life," she grumbled, "until you two started making a racket." Sammy and Carl exchanged nervous glances. The jungle animals huddled together, waiting to see what would happen. Then, Sammy got an idea. She wiggled her tail and whispered to Carl, "What if we make her laugh?" Carl grinned, his golden tooth glinting in the sun. "You mean a challenge?" Sammy nodded. "If we can make her laugh, we win." Carl loved a challenge. "All right," he whispered back. "Let's do this." Round 1. Sammy's Silliest Shapes. Sammy slithered onto a tall rock, twisting and turning her long, sparkly green body. She looped into the shape of a butterfly. Nothing. She curled into the shape of a wobbly giraffe. Still nothing. Finally, she twisted herself into a giant hippo shape, but with super tiny legs. The jungle animals giggled. A parrot almost fell off a branch laughing. But Hilda? She just blinked. Meh. Round 2. Carl's Crazy Splashes. Carl stepped up. He gave his tail the biggest, mightiest whack the jungle had ever seen. Splash! A massive wave rose up and soaked all the monkeys in the trees. They shrieked with laughter, shaking off the water like little fuzzy raindrops. But Hilda? She yawned. Boring. Sammy and Carl gulped. This was harder than they thought. Final round, the ultimate trick. Sammy and Carl put their heads together. "What if we work together?" Sammy whispered. Carl nodded. Time for the biggest laugh ever. Sammy slithered up a tree, wrapped herself into a giant spring, and launched Carl high into the air. Carl did a ridiculous belly flop into the river. Kersplash! The water erupted in a giant wave, which landed right on Hilda. For a second, everything was still. Hilda blinked. Then, booming laughter! Hilda roared with laughter, shaking the trees. Okay, that was hilarious. You win!" The jungle erupted in cheers. Hilda wiped a tear from her eye. "You two really are the funniest animals in the jungle." She smiled. "I guess a little fun isn't so bad." And from that day on, Sammy, Carl, and Hilda became the jungle's funniest trio. The Great Snake and Crocodile Showdown, the grand finale. The jungle roared with laughter as Hilda the hippo wiped away happy tears. All right, you two win," she said, still chuckling. "That was the funniest thing I've ever seen." Sammy and Carl grinned at each other. They had started as competitors, but by working together, they had turned their showdown into the best jungle performance ever. Hilda stretched and sighed. "You know, maybe I don't have to nap all the time. Maybe I should have a little fun too." Sammy's eyes sparkled. "Then you should join our show." Carl nodded excitedly. "Yeah, we could be the jungle's greatest trio." Hilda looked surprised. "Me? In a show?" Sammy and Carl both nodded eagerly. The jungle animals cheered. And so, from that day on, the Great Snake, Crocodile, and Hippo Show became the most famous event in the Jungle of Giggles. Sammy twisted into crazy shapes, Carl made huge, splashy waves, and Hilda? She stomped and danced, making the ground shake like a drum. The jungle had never been happier, and as the sun set over the Jungle of Giggles, Sammy, Carl, and Hilda laughed together, knowing that the best kind of fun is the kind you share.